What is up, guys? Wrestling Premier is here. So it's been a while since we did a lower card guy. As for why I chose him instead of, I don't know, Deuce and Domino, well, his gimmick fascinated me. Like, for all the hype he was given, they deep pushed him at a moment's notice. Like, I bet some of you guys forgot this guy even existed. Mordecai. His character was that of a religious zealot who was ready to punish everyone for their sins. On paper, it seems like the perfect opponent for The Undertaker. You know, early to mid-90s monster that could be fed to him, but it never happened. So how did Mordecai come to be? Well, before this video starts, I just want to mention the fact that I was working on the Hall of Pain video. That is either the next video or the video after that. I'm personally excited for it. It is way better than the original, which was like 14 minutes. This one's like 36, 37. We got all the details in there. I really enjoyed making it, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well. So yeah. Okay, first of all, you probably know that Mordecai was actually Kevin Thorne in 2006. The creation of this religious zealot character emerged in developmental. It's unknown when exactly this was, but Jim Cornette suggested this, like, 7 deadly sins character. It was sort of a precursor to the Mordecai thing, and that's how it started. So he's familiar with this religious type character. Once it was time for him to debut, he met up with Vince McMahon and worked on this Mordecai thing. He was already familiar with the church since his father was a deacon, and the character itself was of that of a righteous man wanting to rid the corrupt world of the adulterers, whoremongers, and cast off any and every wrongdoer that dwell this earth. Vince McMahon, upon hearing this, was like, oh my god, this is awesome, and he was sold on it. As for those vignettes, he was initially supposed to assault someone in the confessional booth in church. Makes sense, right? And I think it would have been a cool visual, but they scrapped that idea. In these vignettes, Mordecai was shown promising to rid the WWE of its sinners for the Lord. And unlike the evil guys, he wore white, showing that he's a good man. The WWE had hope for this new character, despite the fact that Kevin Thorne was pretty green at this point. He wasn't that experienced in the ring, but in their eyes, he was the right guy. These vignettes played for a couple of weeks before his official debut, ironically or not, on Judgment Day. And his first victim that's a sinner was Scotty 2 Hotty. I mean, what the hell did he do? Mordecai came out with this long coat on, freaking flames were emerging from out of nowhere, and as for the match itself, well, since this video is a bit longer than this run, let's talk about it. Mordecai's task called it was hitting and doing some unorthodox stuff, and Michael Cole's like, when was the last time you seen Scotty 2 Hotty get dominated like this? But he managed to turn things around, and as he goes for the worm, Mordecai bounces back with a razor's edge, the crucifix, whatever you want to call it, and he wins. It was a squash match to establish the guy, and Michael Cole made him seem like the scariest man on the roster, and it's on to other things. So later that week, he ended up ruining a match between Billy Kidman and Akio. They were set to go at it, but I guess it was time to get rid of the wrongdoers. The two men stood in the middle of the ring just staring, and once Mordecai enters, they finally attack, but he had that debut boost, meaning they were easily dismantled. The commentary team still didn't understand why Mordecai was doing this, and I just find that odd because he said it himself. He was ridding the world of evil. 2 weeks later, he makes his way out to the ring, and this was after another vignette aired where he proclaimed that he's choosing his first sinner, and the commentary team didn't know which god Mordecai was talking about. The reason why he was out here was to pray for the fans' sins. He's talking about how this country sucks, the women are terrible human beings, and that weak-minded men are cowardly and corrupt. And while the Father may forgive them, he doesn't, and then he shouted, "For I've damned all of you to hell," and Michael Cole repeats the same damn thing, which was hilarious. As for this first sinner that he's going after, Mordecai proclaimed him to be the biggest sinner of them all. One who lies, cheats, and steals, and I just wonder who that is. He didn't attack Eddie Guerrero. He ended up attacking Hardcore Holly at a random moment, and damn, Holly managed to fight back, and they're separated. Of course, this led to a match with the Great American Bash, and about that, well, you're better off not watching it. Why? Well, it showed that Mordecai was called up a bit too soon. Right out of the gate, it was a fight, then it slowly morphed into a boring match. The crowd was heatless, and rightfully so. I mean, that chin lock was locked in for like 2 minutes, and the match was only 6 minutes. Holly makes a comeback after a while, hits a flying clothesline and inverted DDT, but Mordecai bounces back with a spinebuster, and it ain't enough for the victory, so he goes for the razor's edge to win the match. Cole called it a huge win, and by the looks of it, there was a bright future for Mordecai. Later that week, he faced the Cruiserweight Champion Rey Mysterio, and you be thinking to yourself, easy victory, right? Well, the champ was pretty quick, but Mordecai caught him and slowed down the tempo. His attempts at fighting back and making things quick were unsuccessful, but once he did, Rey managed to hit the 619. West Coast pop wasn't to be. Crucifix 6 counter to a roll-up, 1, 2, 3. That's it. Mordecai was the loser, and that was the last we seen of him on the main roster. It just came out of nowhere, and people were thinking to themselves, why? Why in the hell did Mordecai get built up, win every single match at live events and on pay-per-view, only to lose on a random Smackdown? Well, he got into a bar fight down in Louisville. Here's what he had to say in an interview. It was me, Maven, and Sly. We were in the bar, Louisville. We just come up from a show. It was either Sly, Sylvain Grenier, or Maven's birthday. I can't remember. Basically, a kid decided he wanted to hit us with a bottle, and I just kind of intercepted him and broke his nose, and they found out that I was supposedly a WWE superstar, a WWE guy who's worth so much. If they knew how much I had at the time, which was jack, they probably wouldn't even have sued. But they thought I was the second coming of Christ. I was a WWE guy, had all this money, so they pursued it, and then they pursued trying to sue WWE. It just became a big debacle when it was basically Vince going, you got to go. I've been so nice to him, and after this point, I offered them some money, and they didn't want to take it, so guess what? Now they're trying to sue me for a lot, and you've got to go. And that was basically how it was done. And then when they realized how much money I didn't have, they got pretty much dismissed. I paid a little bit of money and it was done. But long story short, it was something that the kids started and I just finished it. That was unlucky. Mordecai revealed in another interview that there was plans for a match at WrestleMania 21 with The Undertaker, but that never happened. Both they said Mordecai was pretty green in the ring. He had yet to master the art, but maybe, just maybe, had they taken their time with him, all would be good. He believes it was due to the fact that he was teamed up with Tyson Tomko for years, that he was a bit rusty as a singles performer. Character did have some potential, but it would have been suited for the early new generation, 93 and 95, because the Ruthless Aggression era is much more different, and some people thought it was goofy and over the top. He made one mistake and they punished him badly. He was definitely going to have the Undertaker feud had that bar fight never happened for certain. He ended up going down to OVW and was called up in 2006, but that's a whole other story. So yeah, what you guys think of Mordecai? Please comment down below. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit a spine buster on the like button, perhaps a crucifix powerbomb on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.